Yes, Obintachi has been a member of NPP since my university education, and I've been part of the system when I finished school. I've been with my people all the time because I always enjoy myself trying to get my people, the youth, to go to school. I spent a lot of time with them, motivating them to get themselves into education. I also enjoy myself doing farming because my parents were farmers. So I go around there for them to know that when you have education, it doesn't mean that you cannot farm. All this motivates my people to also take up any other economic activity that will add to their income. Because people will ask, but Mr. Obintachi, you have a job, you are paid well, why do you have to come to farm? And I told them, education is my secondary occupation. My main occupation is that I was born into farming, so I have to contend with the farming activity. Then, when the time came for me to contest for the elections, I went in 2007-8 there, and unfortunately for me, I couldn't get the nod. I did not give up at that time. I persisted to fight on because I have an agenda, a project that is to see to it that my constituency should have the image that it deserves. So I've been fighting on to this day when, by the grace of God, I've been given the nod this time. I used to tell my people that I have a project, I have an objective. When we were young, the moment you mention the name Manson, then there's a tag associated with it that for Manson, it looks like nothing good can come from there. So I had in my mind that when you get an opportunity, we should also fight on to establish a good image for our locality, that is Manson Kwanta constituency, and then the Mansewa district. So anytime that I go in for this contest, I made my people aware that I'm coming into with my credibility and integrity, and you want to make sure that we look at the image of Manson, for able to understand that when you talk of Manson, it doesn't mean that anything that's coming from there is something so bad. But you have the resources, you have the men, you have everything that it takes for us to position ourselves very well, both in the political and the economic sphere. On that note, I've been fighting on the basis of my integrity and my credibility, not just going into the contest in the name of money or wealth. Gradually, my people have come to understand that Obintachi is coming in with the idea that I have a project of lifting the image of Manson Kwanta constituency and the district. On this note, I'll keep on telling my people that we have to understand that wherever we are, we can flatten our corner. And as I was telling you, through my lecturing, I've been comparing my local people, the youth particularly, to get up into education, get themselves well educated, take up the opportunity to harness every opportunity in terms of economic to enrich themselves, to make their life better. And this has been done, and today I can boast of a lot of young ones who have got university education. That aside, I've also been making sure that anywhere that I am and the youth come to me, particularly concerning their admission to get tertiary education, I do my best and put in every effort to secure admissions for them so they can also advance their education. Through this, my people, those who have gone through the system of education, educating themselves to the highest level, they got to know that Mr. Obintachi can help to lift the image of Manson Kwanta constituency. So all along, I've been preaching the issue of credibility, integrity, developing the people to have the opportunity to develop themselves and then improve and enhance their own economic life. This message has gone down very well, and that's what did the trick for me to get the nod this time round. Constituency, the background or the economic backbone is farming and mining. If we come to Manson Kwanta constituency, we see a lot of mining activities there, and it's on record that when you come to Manson Kwanta, you see mining there, and people call it Galamsey, and it has been tagged with the idea that Galamsey is illegal. Yes, indeed, Galamsey may be illegal, likewise other commercial mining. But unfortunately, that people are linking Galamsey to commercial mining. But in a true sense, Galamsey is an indigenous business which has taken a good chunk of our people's attention. However, we keep on telling them that they should go for education. And the basis is that being a farming community, most of them do not have the support of their parents to get through the education ladder and get to the top. So the mining activity has been assisting them to get to the higher level of education. So some of us were able to secure our education through this our mining activity that we call Esikadi, that our parents, our mothers, our grandfathers, they were supporting us with their activity as an indigenous business to support us. But this time round, because of the tag that Galamsey has become illegal, is also compelling most of our young ones not having the opportunity to get the economic resources to fight on to the educational top ladder. So on that basis, if we are to compare our young ones to get education, we should also think about how they can secure economic potency to get through, pay their fees and other things so that they will move on. And one thing that is ironic is that people think that when you talk about the Galamsey issue, people are not educating themselves. Through that mining activity, a lot of people have been able to secure their education. A lot of people have been able to look after their children. So on that note, you may want to take the opportunity that you educate the public, the country, that you have to look at the Galamsey as an indigenous business vis-a-vis the mining activity of being illegal. When I talk of Galamsey as indigenous business, I mean to say that through years, over the years, in history, our people settled down there to do mining before cocoa came in and then diverted into cocoa farming. That gave us the accolade that Ghana at that time was Gold Coast. Where did we get the Gold Coast from? We got the Gold Coast because of the indigenous mining activities of our forefathers who settled at Manso and its emblems. Through those mining activities, they were able to fend for themselves, they were able to take care of themselves before, as I was telling you, cocoa came into the being. So on that note, you realize that there is a link between the livelihood of people and mining before the farming activity that took care of the people through cocoa. So on that note, I want to put across that this mining activity, where they were using a wooden tree and what we call soso to do this mining, gradually it became known that commercial mining came in there. And the point I want to make here, the capital of these people is their land. A mining company will come in and secure the land as a concession, and then they deprive the people of their farmlands, and on that note, these people are also made poorer the more. How do they fend for themselves? Their farming activities has been taken away, their lands as their capital has been taken away, so how do they survive? How do their children get education? That's why some of us are fighting that. At the end of the day, there should be a link between their economic activities, about their development, and then how they can survive through their farming and their mining. So if you deprive them of farming because they have taken away their land and they don't have any share in the mining activity, then it means that the people cannot educate their children, develop them to a better standard where they can also make sure that they secure their fathers, their mothers, their parents, and other relatives who may be getting older. Note that in this country, we don't have social security for those who are in the farming areas. We don't have social security for those who are in the informal sector. So they rely on their children as social security. So if you look at such a rural community where they have only farming and the mining, and they are deprived of their farming activity through mining, and they are deprived of their mining activity through the issue of Galamsey being illegal, then where do you think they will find themselves? That's why you go to the big cities, particularly in Kumasi here. You see a lot of people there struggling to fend for themselves through buying and selling. And these people are always being shut down because they are obstructing traffic and causing some kind of social vices and other things that is not helping the general governance of the central business of the big cities. How are we considering this issue, linking it to their local and communities? You'll get to know that most of these people are coming from the mining areas because they have been deprived of their farming activities. Their land, which is the capital, have taken away from them. The land that can use from their farming activities are taken away from them. So where did they go to survive? Most of them trek to the cities to sit around the roadsides to sell before they can make life. So we are trying to come out to say that if we want to develop the local communities, get good education for their children, then we have to consider the policy concerning mining and the policy concerning those who take concessions, that the people in the mining communities, in the rural communities, they are providing land as their capital. Therefore, anything that comes out from mining, they should be part stakeholders, and they should be considered when they are sharing whatever resource is coming from the mining. If you don't do that way, we are depriving the people of their livelihood. We are depriving the people of their development. We are depriving the people of taking care of their children to have good education. So through this means, I want to put across that we have to revisit the issue of indigenous mining that has been turned to be called Galamsey as illegal. I don't want to say that those who are doing illegal mining I'm trying to advocate for them, but I want to draw a distinction between Galamsey and illegal mining. When I see Soso and the Kodowo, that was the indigenous mining. They don't have any commercial equipment like the bulldozers, like the excavators to do their mining. So those who are doing this mining that they are calling Galamsey because they are applying bulldozers and those excavators, it is not Galamsey. It is illegal commercial mining. But the Galamsey came out of the Soso and then the wooden tray which they were using to wash for the gold. The Galamsey term came about when people who have worked in the mining, commercial mining institutions or companies, they learned and provided an improvised system. Instead of using a wooden tree, they have a wooden board. They will lay on it a blanket or a sackcloth and then wash the ore on the sackcloth instead of through the Kodowo. That became faster. So they term it Galamsey because you are using assaying technology, and they use some equipment and coin the term Galamsey assaying. So it's not gather and say, it's the system that they were working with that they got through with this term Galamsey. That's coining, the assaying, and the other equipment and other name that they couldn't mention come out with a Galamsey. That they are moving away from the wooden tray system and using the board to wash. So they distinguish theirs as Galamsey as from those who were using a wooden tray. That was there. But the problem is that when the mining companies came in, as I'm telling you, with their concessional plans and activity, they deprived them. And they got to know that the activities of the alluvial mining was like a super Galamsey because they were using sophisticated equipment like the bulldozers and excavators, which means they will use the excavators to take out the ore and then come and wash it in a washing plant. So they also will take the Soso and wash it on the wooden tray as Galamsey. On that note, when the people were deprived of their capital or providing the land and they couldn't get anywhere, then they saw that they too can do something. So if I can go for an excavator, dig and then wash it on a similar plant that they all improvise, they can make something. So on that note, if you don't consider the economic potential of the people that is they are providing the land as their capital, and then the economic company coming in should understand that they met the people who owns the land as the custodians, and they deprive them of their livelihood because their farmlands have been taken, the ore has been taken without partaking in it. It is causing a problem here. And along the line too, this commercial mine that we are talking about, the people who are behind it are not the indigenous. They have just a few places to work. These mining giants work to prevent them. However, when it comes to the Galamsey that they are talking about, the illegal ones, why are these not also attacking the illegal commercial mining? There's something in here. That through research, you will see that there's a condoning and conniving here between certain people who get the illegal mining going on. The last one is that if we are giving papers as license, authorizing people to work in these communities, why can't we also have a similar way of empowering the people there to give them the license, some papers, to also operate alongside and give them the necessary training to prevent them from destroying the land and destroying our waters? If this is done, I believe there will be a good policy that will get the people also enjoying their environment, enjoying their economic resources, enjoying their capital land to benefit themselves.
Okay, so will you say
that's towards policy direction on mining? The point is that if you are able to provide simple equipment to guide these people, they can also make life. Simple equipment like in our days, our forefathers were not using bulldozers. They would dig a hole, go down there, take the ore, or they would take the soil and come and wash it for the wall. However, because Ghana, our education is taking care of our indigenous businesses and our cultures into consideration to develop our manpower through our local industries, we go to school with the idea that we just know how to write and read. We don't give them the trade. So if you have, for example, this mining activity where we dig, why can't our engineering department in the universities and other science develop simple equipment which can dig and get down there, take the soil and come and wash, instead of using bulldozers and using excavators to destroy the surface of the land through alluvial mining? So I've been suggesting that in our days when our forefathers were digging and getting the hole to get out the soil and wash for the ore, we can use similar technology that can do the digging without clearing the surface of the land or the topsoil, get the ore, and then get this land still intact. During our days, as I'm saying, we go to farms, you see these holes there, and they farm on the surface without destroying the surface of the land. So that has been my fight, that instead of giving these licenses to people to use bulldozers, to use excavators to clear the surface of the land, we can equally have simple improvised equipment to dig for the ore and protect the surface of the land, protect the waters. How do you protect the waters? Our fathers and forefathers, they don't wash in the water. They create a separate hole somewhere and then collect waters to that hole and wash there. They don't wash through the water valleys. But today, when these lands are granted, people who have the concession, they work through the water bodies. But those days, because it was their main source of water, they didn't destroy the waters. What they do is that they will just create a hole somewhere, pump water into it to do the washing. Having simple equipment, those who go down there to dig for the ore, those who have to take the ore and process it into other jewels and other things, those who will be selling them, it will be a very big chain of activity to help the people who are locally there, people who will have education, train themselves along that line, and that will create a lot of jobs for our people. This is what we are thinking of, that we have to reconsider the policy of mining for the indigenous and policy of mining for the commercial miners, and a policy that our education will take a chunk of the employment there in a chain which will add value in the process to alleviate ourselves from unnecessary poverty for the local people, for them to trek to the big cities. If we're able to do this, I hope we can solve a lot of the challenges facing our local communities.
So you have...
Yes, I want to take the opportunity to tell my people that I know that your forefathers, they settled there because of that mining activity that gave the current country, Ghana, the name Gold Coast. Our forefathers did a very great job in the mining industry. Today, we are in a crossroad where the activities of mining should be guided by law. Because we don't take care, we will be contaminating our own water bodies and our soil with chemicals which will be good for the human existence. So when you have money and your life is at risk, what's the essence of that money? Let's be very careful and patient with the government policy, and we are going to make sure that we negotiate through policy direction to ensure that all the necessary guidelines concerning mining activity will be safe for all of us. We all have a way to put it in shape. Secondly, we also have to understand that the country may also need resources to manage the affairs of this country. So if government needs the resources to manage the affairs of this country, where are they going to get it from? It should be through taxes. On that note, whatever we are doing there, we should also be mindful that we reorganize ourselves, structure our activities, get our activities formally registered, so that you can also pay something to government in the form of taxes, so that you are recognized. The third point is that let us understand that policy by government is not a confrontation. If we want to make our point known to government about its policy direction. It's not a matter of confrontation. So I may advise as well that all people who are engaged in indigenous mining, not activities that are illegal. Let me make sure that I clear myself here. I'm not talking about issues that are illegal, but the indigenous businesses that we can create an avenue to have simple equipment to empower them to do good and proper mining, not degrading the environment, not destroying our lands, but to establish a way out where we can use simple equipment to penetrate into the earth, take out the soil for the ore, and protect our water bodies and our land. This is what I stand for. I'm not talking about using heavy-duty equipment to destroy the surface of the land for the sake of making money, but I'm talking of how we can guide our environment by developing equipment that will guide our indigenous mining to make it more efficient and effective and make it more economic. Because today, as we speak, if you are to go through the process of mining and making sure that you reclaim the land, most of it cannot operate because the cost of reclaiming the land, reforestation of the land will be very expensive, which means that nobody can mine. But because of the illegality involved, both local people and other people who are in top offices and the top of affairs of this country, who are also hiding behind paper and destroying the land, or that reclaiming the land and then reforesting the place, they are all involved in here. So my concern is that these things should stop. However, there should be a way of empowering our people through simple technology which they can use in their mining activity to also ensure their livelihood secured and empower them economically. And through that, I believe you all there will have to be part of the process of adding value to that industry.